When it comes to the Steam Machine, the hottest topic is naturally around two things: the VRAM amount, but more importantly, the price. Some say at too high of a price, it's dead on arrival. But before that though, if you like this video or any other videos on my channel, please like, subscribe, and share with all of your friends. Spreading the good gospel helps me in the long run. And if you're looking for more content, be sure to check out Off the Console. It's a podcast started by me, Gardner Bryant, and Games Revealed. And of course, we talk about the latest gaming news and, well, actually not just gaming, but also multimedia as well. Feel free to check us out on YouTube in video form, or if you prefer an audio form, you can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever apps you use for your podcasts. Episodes typically release on Mondays. As it turns out, the most important spec of any device is the price, and we don't know what the price is for the Steam Machine. We can make all sorts of assumptions, and according to Valve's own words, it'll be competitive with a similarly spec'd machine. But a couple of things add to that. First and foremost, I tried my hand at making a quote similarly spec'd machine. It's actually a little under $800. Not a whole lot of compromises here, as you can see. But a few things to know. First and foremost, none of these parts are exactly the same parts Valve will use. It's not known what parts Valve will use, and many parts probably won't be attainable because they're semi-custom CPUs, semi-custom GPUs, and a lot of custom parts like a custom motherboard to enable HDMI CEC. So it's not going to be completely one-to-one. And second off, since Valve is a system integrator manufacturing these devices, they'll have access to these parts for a little cheaper, so it's possible that these could be had for $750 if you were lucky and Valve and were making these Steam machines. So let's just assume the Steam machine's gonna be, I don't know, $750. That'll be our predicted price for this video. Of course, I could be wrong in the future, but do keep in mind that prices are always subject to change, and due to the evolving marketplace, there's no telling what the Steam machine's price will actually be. So let's talk about the real cost of owning a Steam machine compared to the real cost of owning, say, a console. We're not going to be using the Black Friday price to keep this a fair comparison, since the Steam machine's not going to be on sale for this Black Friday anyways, so yeah. The first thing to note is that the Steam machine will have a higher buy-in price. At our estimated $750 price, the Steam machine will certainly be more expensive than the PS5, and a bit more expensive than the PS5 Pro for that matter. And of course, a couple of outlets have reported that you're not getting a Steam controller with your Steam machine unless you buy a specific bundle. The controller price is also a big mystery as well. I don't actually know how much the Steam controller is, so that could be an additional $60 to $80 extra for a Steam controller. Or you could use one of the controllers you have. The Steam machine is compatible with your PlayStation controllers, your Xbox controllers, your Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 controllers. It's compatible with all of those controllers because SteamOS just is. You don't have to include a Steam controller, so yeah. So naturally up front, the PlayStation 5 is cheaper, but the value proposition for both devices change immensely when you have to include paid online services. Of course, on the PlayStation, most games are not playable online unless you pay an $80 a year fee. As for the Steam machine is a PC and it enjoys many of the same features PC enjoys, like for example, not needing to pay for online services. You don't pay Valve a single dime to play your PC games online. Not like Microsoft or Sony, where you do have to pay for PS Plus or Xbox Live to play online. Now, it is worth mentioning that specifically with PlayStation, some games can be played without PS Plus. Big example, Final Fantasy XIV. If you have a subscription to Final Fantasy XIV, you can play on your PS5 without having to pay for PS Plus. Now, let's say you wanted to pay for online services for PlayStation Plus and you wanted to pay for them. Let's say 3 years is the baseline. Now, if you were to buy a PlayStation 5 standard version, with the one with the disc drive, and also 3 years of PlayStation Plus, you'd be paying $790, almost $800. Of course, you could just not buy online for your PlayStation 5 and be content with playing single player games. That's totally fine. but I am saying most people do like playing online multiplayer, so we do have to take that into account. And of course, let's talk about the actual most expensive expense for your device, the games. Any game that's released on any modern platform is either going to be 60, 70, or 80, and they're all going to be the same across all platforms. Even the price cuts for games that are a few years old at this point are fairly similar too. Like for example, Street Fighter 6 used to be $60, but now it's $40 on Steam and PlayStation. The big differentiator here though are of course the sales and when sales do happen. When it comes to sales, there generally are more frequent Steam sales than there are Xbox or PlayStation sales. Not to mention, at times you will see deeper discounts on games. This is documented, of course. Let's look at an older indie game, La Mulana. La Mulana is typically $15 without any discounts. The cheapest the PS4 version has ever been was $4.94 as per PS deals, whereas the Steam version has been $149 at its absolute lowest. Let's try a more recent-ish game, Doom Eternal. The lowest Doom Eternal's ever been on PlayStation was $9.99, whereas the lowest it's ever been on Steam, get this, $3.99. But what about a game released this year? Well, let's talk about Doom: The Dark Ages. Doom: The Dark Ages is typically $70 on both platforms. The lowest it's ever been on PlayStation though, $46.89. On Steam though, the lowest it's ever been is $34.99, which is still a fair bit cheaper for a game released this year. And notice how I've been saying on Steam? Well, that's because I haven't been talking about the third-party key sellers that sell Steam keys. Officially speaking, PlayStation doesn't have anything like this. The only places to buy PlayStation 5 versions of games are, of course, the PlayStation Store, and also a physical retailer in case there's a physical version. But for Steam, you can buy Steam keys of games on multiple different websites. Many of them are trustworthy and official Steam key resellers. Things like the Humble Store, or Fanatical, or Green Man Gaming, or basically anything listed on Is There Any Deal, because Is There Any Deal lists exclusively authorized third-party key sellers. And of course, we're not talking about gray market key sellers. Yes, those same websites do sell PlayStation keys, but at the same time though, you probably just shouldn't use those websites at all because, truth be told, there's a chance that you might buy a key that was bought with a stolen credit card and that key could be revoked from you, so yeah, do keep that in mind. Of course, there are times where games have been cheaper on PlayStation Plus. It's not very often, but you'll often find this with Sony games, naturally. Games like Ghost of Tsushima, it was on PlayStation before it was on PC, so naturally the discounts are deeper for this game. And of course, naturally this is a pattern across every single Sony game that's also on PC as well. I should also mention that PlayStation 5 units with disk drives have access to used games. Yes, you can buy games from other people that no longer want to play said games. You can also buy said used games at a used game store. Yes, you could go to like a used game store, buy games for cheap. Of course, your mileage may vary. Some cities may have better deals on used games than other cities. I've also heard of public libraries in America that allow you to essentially check out PS5 games as if they were books from your public library with a library card. Now, I don't think I live next to any libraries that do this, but that is a cool thing to take advantage of in case you live near a library that offers PS5 games. I wish my libraries were that cool. Of course, with Steam, there is no used game market, so do keep that in mind. And of course, the only way to share your games with your friends is to have them as part of your Steam family. But giving them access to your whole library instead of just letting them borrow one game disc sounds like a huge pain. So what is our verdict? Well, our verdict is pretty simple. The Steam machine upfront will be more expensive than a PlayStation 5. But of course, we have to talk about the value proposition of everything else surrounding the system, like the price of games and also the price of paying for online services too. We also haven't talked about things like game performance between the two systems. There's also a lot of different ancillary things we didn't talk about, like for example, the Steam machine not having support for specific anti-cheat games. There are some that work, like for example, Arc Raiders works on Linux and the Steam Deck, so it should work on the Steam machine. And others don't work on the Steam machine, whereas they would on the PS5. And we also didn't talk about the flexibility of the Steam machine being able to do emulation, or go outside of Steam to do like Epic Games games. And finally, a head-to-head performance test between the Steam machine and the PS5. But I'm guessing closer to the release of the Steam machine, we'll be seeing more and more benchmarks. Heck, maybe we'll see some leaks from China as they manufacture this thing. If you like this video, please press the like button and check out our other videos. And if you like those other videos as well, be sure to press the subscribe button and share the good gospel of high-tech lowlife with your friends. Furthermore, we have a community Discord for enlightened individuals such as you. And if you wish to further support high-tech lowlife, be sure to check out our Patreon page. Links in the description.